Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Over the past couple of months, we've been hosting a webinar series that has covered a variety of different topics specific to the property management industry. We understand that many businesses and industries have been vastly impacted by the current global pandemic, which has of course been tough for many. So we wanted to take this opportunity to host a special COVID-19 webinar to bring awareness to how the TrustHab solution can be beneficial for those in the property management industry during this time in particular, just in case you may have not already been familiar. There's also a COVID-19 section on the homepage of our website that is dedicated to discussing many of the points that we're going to go over today. So be sure to check that out if you have a chance. My name is Gemma Bissell. I'm the marketing manager for TrustHab, and joining me today is our product manager, Giulio Buccieri. If you're new to our site or perhaps unfamiliar with the TrustHab solution, I'll give you a quick rundown of who we are and what our platform is all about. So TrustHab leverages IoT-driven smart devices to push actionable data back to property staff, allowing them to remotely identify when a potentially risky condition is present within a unit. Think of it as continuous remote equipment monitoring, so no potentially risky condition goes undetected, especially in the absence of a tenant. Our solution empowers management teams with a more efficient way to manage vacant units and provides a proactive approach to maintenance problems, which enables them to significantly reduce costs associated with utilities and maintenance without a need to increase rent. And best of all, this reduction in unnecessary costs helps properties to increase their overall NOI. The COVID-19 pandemic has presented us with challenges we've never encountered before, especially when it comes to trying to continue business as usual, but with limited resources, fewer personnel, and many in-person practices now needing to be done virtually. While many companies have sadly had to put business on hold for the time being, there are of course those of us that are continuing to operate, but making sure to prioritize the health and safety of all personnel involved. If you're a property manager or part of a team that works in the property management industry, you will hopefully find this webinar especially insightful.
Yeah, thanks, Gemma. And our solution is purpose-built with property managers in mind, and our platform allows them to streamline maintenance processes as well as handle some workflows completely remotely without needing to be on property. Remote diagnostics reduce the need for maintenance teams to visit units in person in order to check on the health of equipment. TrustHab's real-time alerts and analytics enable staff to prioritize any necessary in-person service calls to only those units that require immediate attention. In the platform, you can easily see at a glance which units are performing on par with the property's baseline averages and which units are outliers and may need further investigation. It's important to remember, just because a unit isn't actively being lived in doesn't mean maintenance problems can't or won't occur. Common problems can be remotely detected easily with TrustHab, allowing you to gain valuable insights on a unit without being on site. Looking through the dashboard and analytics modules gives you far more insight into how your devices are performing in a unit in a much more efficient manner than when you have to physically go to a unit and triage devices. We also want to make sure you and your staff know what the issue may be well before you step foot on a property or in a unit. You also won't need to worry about waiting for a resident to report an issue, since our proactive alerts notify you in real time when any issues are detected, such as water leaks. Our sensors can alert you to leaking pipes as soon as they're detected, which of course, if left unchecked, can lead to extensive water damage to the property, which is typically very expensive to remediate. Our alerts also notify you if high humidity levels are detected within a unit. These present a breeding ground for mold conditions. So if high humidity is in fact present in a residence, that's something you want to catch and address immediately. If an AC unit is running excessively, you will also be notified. This usually means that the HVAC is having trouble reaching the temperature set point and can be occurring for a number of reasons, such as a coil needing to be cleaned or a filter needing to be changed. It could be that windows have accidentally been left open, which is of course detrimental to expensive HVAC equipment, especially if in conjunction with a running AC unit, because that AC unit will never be able to reach the set temperature if it's continuously being countered by an open window. Units getting too hot or cold will also trigger alert notifications, and these units can become uncomfortable for residents and potentially dangerous for electronics in the room if it gets too hot, or everything in the room, including pipes, if it gets too cold. And of course, we have fire, smoke, carbon monoxide, and combustible gas detection. These are definitely issues that you would need to address immediately. In addition to alerts, the command and control features in TrustHab allow you to coordinate service calls with tenants to ensure repairs are completed when a resident has vacated the unit. TrustHab's command and control feature even allows maintenance staff to handle certain workflows and troubleshooting completely remotely. Under the Places section in the platform, you can see in real time what the devices are doing, so the maintenance staff know exactly what problem they're going in for prior to entering a unit, which avoids wasting time trying to dissect the root of a problem while they're there. You can also easily edit devices and change settings from anywhere you have an internet connection. For example, let's say a resident calls after hours to say the AC isn't blowing cold air. Property staff can view the current status and mode of the thermostat in the platform and ensure it's set to the right mode and set points as needed to achieve what the resident wants. If they're unknowingly in off or in heat mode, you can easily make the change for them with just a few clicks. In an after hours call, that's much easier than needing to talk a resident through how to change a setting, and certainly more cost effective than sending a resource on site after hours just to press a few buttons in the resident's unit.
So understandably, some residents may have temporarily vacated their usual residences during this time. In student housing buildings in particular, it makes sense that residents may have taken extended trips back home to stay with their families, being that many schools are closed for the remainder of the school year. And of course, being that many of these units are now sitting unoccupied, this presents the risk that any potentially abnormal conditions to be left undetected and therefore likely develop into a far greater and more expensive issue. For example, let's say a resident forgot to turn their thermostat to a reasonable temperature before vacating their unit. This means that the AC unit has been left blowing cold air to an empty residence for weeks without being caught. Not only is that, of course, a waste of energy and will drastically hike up utility bills, it puts a massive strain on AC equipment, causing it to run excessively. This problem is a lot more common than you might think, but thankfully, TrustHab allows staff to easily manage and maintain the temperature in those vacant units entirely remotely, as well as lock thermostats, set cooling minimums and heating maximums, and set devices to auto mode. Staff even have the ability to remotely detect when a unit may be vacant by using other TrustHab features like scheduled presets or bulk edits.
I've seen that some properties are trying to guess which units are vacant by seeing how the bandwidth usage fluctuates on site, or looking at how many devices are connected to their network now in relation to how many there were in January, for example. There are a few ways in the TrustHab platform that enable you to see which rented rooms are actually in fact vacant. The easiest way is just by rolling out a change to all your units and seeing which of those do not change that setting. For example, by setting the thermostats to set points that will maximize energy saving. You can change it to auto climate mode and cooling to 78. If the resident is there, they will typically make a change to adjust it to a cooler or lower set point. You can roll out a change in the morning, and then if by that evening or tomorrow morning that unit's set point still hasn't changed, then it's almost certain that that room is unoccupied. Also, for properties that utilize our smart lock solutions, you can see if the door lock has been activated, when, and by whom for all of your units.
TrustHab's alert configuration feature allows staff to ensure the appropriate personnel have been assigned to each real-time alert. With many buildings now being temporarily short-staffed, it's important to be able to manage and/or edit which employee is receiving a particular notification. Being able to easily edit the recipient at any given time is, of course, especially useful if staff members may be taking turns rotating shifts. Alert recipients are customizable per alert type and severity. So for example, maybe someone from the maintenance department gets the high humidity alert when it surpasses the info level threshold of 65%, but the property manager gets notified when it surpasses 80%. Alerts get to the appropriate personnel faster than it takes for a resident to recognize a potential issue and notify maintenance. Or in this case, many residents aren't even home to be able to call in and notify staff. So of course, these automatic alerts are especially helpful during these times.
Definitely right. And in addition to notifications and being able to gather all this info in the platform, we also ensure that residents cannot make changes to their devices from off-site. TrustHab Residents app does not permit residents to make changes to their devices while they're away from the property. For any residents that later decide that they will not be returning, property staff have the ability to completely revoke device access from residents with just a few clicks. In TrustHab, anytime you add a device, you assign it to a particular unit. For example, this is unit 101, and it has a thermostat, a light switch, and a lock associated to it. When you assign a resident to a unit, you grant them control over devices assigned to that unit. Everyone loves being able to change the temperature and turn out the lights with their phone. However, even this feature was built with property managers in mind. Using geolocation, we're able to restrict resident access while they are outside of the radius of the property. Also, we'll be releasing an updated version of the Residents app over the summer, featuring the ability for the property to automatically push a different set point to thermostats when their residents are away in order to save energy, and then automatically revert it to the resident's last set temperature once they return. No need to cool empty rooms for hours. Why not save some energy and save the environment at the same time?
So over the past few months, we've all been taught to minimize any unnecessary contact with other people. And so it goes without saying that it's top priority for maintenance teams to spend as little time as possible inside resident dwellings when conducting service calls. TrustHab's dashboard, alerts, and analytics enable staff to spend time investigating potential issues entirely remotely prior to entering a unit. Some of the analytics that are measured in the TrustHab platform include unit runtime, ambient temperature and humidity level within each residence, as well as the ability to compare a C unit activity with that of others to tell when one particular unit is showing signs of abnormal activity. Staff also get insight into individual buildings and how well ambient temperature is being tracked in comparison to set points. You can view the overall health of your location by looking at the property level or building level. Being able to identify an issue prior to even entering a residence helps staff pinpoint exactly what needs to be done and prepare accordingly, rather than having to waste time trying to diagnose an issue in person upon arrival. So thank you everyone for joining us today for our special COVID-19 webinar. We understand there are certain building management practices and operations that must continue throughout the current global pandemic. We wanted to take some time today to make sure that you know about the many ways in which TrustHab can be utilized to enhance the safety of you and your teams while conducting any necessary building management practices. We do have a number of different use cases available for download for free on our website, TrustHab.com. So if data visualization is your thing, you can see some examples of how we've helped properties across the country reduce their costs and increase property NOI. Be sure to also check out the library of how-to videos available on our site, which are a collection of 90-second tutorial clips on the many different features within our platform. And of course, if you'd ever like to take a deeper look into the TrustHab solution, send an email to contact@trusthab.com and one of our team members will be glad to offer you a demo. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions or concerns. We hope you found this webinar informative and we hope everyone is staying safe.